One of your other projects you're working on, central bank digital currencies, is going to need to have a secure digital ID to allow people to transact in digital dollars in a safe way that can't be abused. And are you working internationally to try to get these secure digital IDs, as part of your negotiations on central bank digital currencies and others?
I think it's part of the discussion. I would say we're not as far along as your description would suggest on that, but that's it's certainly something you would need to be able to have it.
Will it be addressed in your white paper coming out this summer?
A lot of things will be addressed. I'm not sure if that would be it. That's something you certainly need that to down the road. We probably will be. We're just laying it out right now.
Yeah, no, it's important for our economic recovery as well as planning to respond to China, frankly, on central bank digital currencies. So move it up on your to-do list. Thanks much, and I yield back.
Hard to say, really. If you're positing an actual reversal of globalization, that could have implications, as you suggest. But I wonder if that's really going to happen because of policies that we adopt. The technology goes instantly around the world. It's not going to be easy to stop that. The economy's become very globalized. And also, production technology is so much more efficient than it was. You can do things, with the new technologies, you can manufacture things here. It may or may not result in a lot of jobs in manufacturing, but you can certainly make things. There may be reshoring here that's actually quite efficient. Cost. So
the jobs will come back to the U.S., but they'll be taken by robots, sort of is here. Which
there is some of that.
There's some of that. Yeah.
In manufacturing.
All sorts of companies now getting into this effort, not least among them Facebook. What kind of threat does this pose to the traditional banking system?
Well, I think you have incumbents, the banks, commercial banks, and you have the disruptors. And clearly the disruptors are having an impact on the incumbents. We just heard a very large systemic bank here saying that they're launching their digital coin, currently piloted in a way within the institutional clients, but to be scaled beyond that. We heard from the European Central Bank that they have launched in November something that is called TIPS, that enables all the banks in the Eurozone to actually transfer instantly at virtually no cost money between them. So I think the role of the disruptors and anything that is using distributed ledger technology, whether you call it crypto, assets, currencies, or whatever, and it's far from the bitcoins that we used to talk about a year ago, that is clearly shaking the system. The voice that we heard, which was, I thought, really interesting, were those of the regulators and central bank governors who said, well, yes, this is good and this is helpful and it is changing the business model of commercial banks. But we have to be mindful of two things: trust and stability of the system. And we are equally concerned, we at the IMF, about stability. We don't want innovation that would shake the system so much that we would lose the stability that is needed.
And are regulators doing enough right now to ensure that stability and as well competition from some of these big tech companies being involved in this space?
I think they're mindful of wherever the competition is coming from. The central bank governor of Kenya was explaining to us that they gave a banking license to a telecom company. And I think in the future, we have to look at what lots of data collectors and movers are going to do and whether they're going to move into the banking space forcefully, in which case they will have to be regulated. They will have to be held accountable so that they can be fully trusted.
Much, Mark. Cryptocurrency is in the news just about every day, whether it's the extreme volatility, Elon Musk going back and forth on whether to take it as payment for Teslas, or criminals demanding it in ransomware. Republican Congressman from Ohio, Warren Davidson, has become something of an expert in cryptocurrency policy, and we welcome him now to Bloomberg. So, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. You have really gone out in front on cryptocurrency. Give us your attitude toward cryptocurrency, and specifically whether and how it should be regulated.
Well, one of the most important things is that we get a clear definition for what is and what is not a security. If you remember back to 2017, 2018, there were a lot of ICOs, initial coin offerings. And this was essentially a regulatory arbitrage thing where companies were trying to essentially launch a security. But lots of things were trying to just get an idea out there, and they're clearly not securities. This has been one of the hangups at the SEC, and I think it's one of the biggest opportunities for Chairman Gensler to really provide clarity for our markets. But really, this is Congress's job. We should pass this law. This is part of a really bipartisan bill, the Token Taxonomy Act, that Darren Soto from Florida and I introduced in 2018. So we've continued to work on it. That's one of the biggest things. The other big thing is custody. So one of the who has custody of the crypto, and this lack of clarity on that piece is a big part of why normal retirement funds haven't been able to offer crypto. And this has been the best performing asset class over the past decade. So it's really consequential that your average retiree or saver hasn't had access to this directly in their retirement portfolio. So I think the last thing is tax consequences.
Yeah, exactly. Because you would give something of a tax break, right, to appreciation of crypto?
Yeah, just the same as you do for regular currency. So, I'm not for, redefining the whole regulatory framework, at least initially. It's just, let's apply what already applies to other currencies.
So let me ask, if it's not a security, does CFTC regulate it? And regulation seems to be important. I mean, actually, Bitcoin is down substantially today because China has reiterated its position. It doesn't want its people trading in crypto.
Well, it doesn't want people trading in something else that China doesn't control. So China's an authoritarian regime, and they're in the process of launching a central bank digital currency. So it'll behave a lot like, Bitcoin would, except that it's completely opposite. It'll have the central authority, the Chinese Communist Party, controlling all of the behavior of it. So they'll be able to literally monitor every individual's transactions, and they'll be able to link it to their other data to essentially establish a social credit score. Not just an ability to repay, but are you being a good citizen in the eyes of the Chinese Communist Party? So it's really a system of control, not a real monetary system in the sense of store of value, means of exchange.
Congressman, cryptocurrency has figured largely in the ransomware demands on some of the attacks on infrastructure. It's not clear to me how a ransomware would work if there didn't have the pseudonymity of cryptocurrency. Is there any way to make sure we still have cryptocurrency, but it isn't used for really illegal purposes? Certainly ransomware, but others as well.
Yeah, and I think this is why it's important that U.S. Treasury gets after things like, there's a company, Chainalysis, is one of the early movers in this space. But if you truly wanted to be, private, you wouldn't put it on the chain. You wouldn't put it on a public ledger.
Congressman, if in fact there's regulation that goes forward, does the CFTC do it?
Well, the CFTC is the primary regulator for Bitcoin and Ethereum. There hasn't been a clear ruling on other crypto products. And look, everyone thinks about the payment systems, but the broader architecture, blockchain, is going to be dynamic just like the internet. I mean, we're 30 years into the internet, and we haven't even begun to tap all the use cases. So we're in the infancy of the blockchain architecture, and it truly is a different architecture, a different way to establish trust in a much more secure way.
Thank you for this opportunity to address this community at this very important meeting. We, the World Economic Forum, greatly welcome the launch of this roadmap and share with Secretary General Guterres and Special Advisor Hochschild the feeling of great urgency for increased and improved global cooperation. Thank you for this opportunity to address this community at this very important meeting. We, the World Economic Forum, greatly welcome the launch of this roadmap and share with Secretary General Guterres and Special Advisor Hochschild the feeling of great urgency for increased and improved global cooperation. COVID-19 has irrevocably changed our world. So many of us had to learn how to live differently, to learn how to work, socialize, shop, and collaborate differently. And we are doing all of this online. Since the onset of the corona crisis, Internet usage has increased by 70%. The use of communication apps has increased by 300%, and virtual collaboration tools by 600%. And some video streaming services have grown 20-fold. This is only true for those who are connected to the internet. However, today, 30 years after the invention of the World Wide Web by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, this stands at just 53% of the world's population. Many individuals and populations in emerging economies around the world are now facing the impact of COVID-19 without the benefit of the connectivity that all of us take so much for granted. Of the 25 least connected countries in the world, 21 are in Africa. And the gap between those who are connected and those who are not is so dramatically felt today. The World Economic Forum developed a joint action plan together with the ITU, the World Bank, GSMA, and our industry partners. It highlights key immediate actions for private-public collaboration to ensure that digital connectivity is available and expanded to those who need it most. This has already been shared with 170 countries and is in active use. This fast-track partnership is deeply encouraging. A number of our partners have highlighted that we have made more progress in the last 4 months than in the last 10 years. Technology has been a critical weapon also in our fight against COVID. In April, the World Economic Forum established the COVID Digital Response Network, which has already compiled a compendium of over 90 lighthouse examples of how technology can be used to respond to the COVID crisis. In the Great Reset process, the Forum is undertaking to shape the post-corona era. We have to pay also special attention to the SMEs. Small businesses, which make up 40 to 90% of GDP in economies around the world, are facing today a struggle for survival. The ability for small businesses to have access not just to affordable quality connectivity, but to common digital services such as digital identity, security, and digital financial tools, which will be critical to their success. The ability of this community of small and medium-sized businesses to secure their livelihoods will have a tremendous impact on social resilience and cohesion in every country. As we advance our collaboration and establish our shared global priorities and roadmaps, I offer you 5 thoughts to guide our collective efforts. First, we must be ambitious. The time for incremental change and growth of digital access is over. We must highlight the critical nature of this challenge as foundational to so many others. And we have to bring those who care about education, health, climate, equality, and growth to also be the champions in our mission to bring connectivity to all. Second, we must invest in digital inclusion with innovative financing models. Currently, only 1% of funding from multinational development banks goes towards digital infrastructure. Third, we must think of digital infrastructure and digital inclusion holistically, including digital identity and payment solutions as much as simple connectivity. Fourth, success will only be possible through deep, sustained, cross-industry and private-public partnership to ensure both affordability for consumers as well as sustainable economic and fiscal models for continued service provision. And finally, fifth, We should be guided by core principles for our shared digital future: inclusion, trust, and sustainability. It is clear that the COVID-19 crisis is a watershed moment for digital infrastructure and services. Digital is the fabric of our post-COVID lives, and we will continue to rely on technology more and more, unless we rapidly tackle the challenge to bring high-quality, universal internet access to all. We will not be able to build inclusive economies or achieve our sustainable development goals.